Good morning, everybody. We're over here in Ecuador, living well on small means. What does that mean? Hey, we got a question today from Jenny King. She wants to know, do we recommend a lawyer? Stay tuned for this. I'm going to address this issue about what we recommend, what we don't recommend. This cheese has been straining for a good day and a half. I like to strain it longer because it gets even thicker and drier, which is the way I like the cheese. This is also a two-step process. This particular batch of cheese, it's my personal cheese stash. Okay. So it gets the special treatment. Do we recommend a lawyer? Well, here's what we no longer recommend. Things have changed, definitely changed. We know this from just personally, first-hand experience. Things have changed and they're getting more complicated. So we no longer, as in regards to coming down and doing your immigration visa yourself, we don't recommend that. We no longer recommend do it yourself. We strongly recommend that you use a lawyer. Now, having said that, if you're 100% fluent in Spanish, that might be different. If you're a local, returning, or what have you. Other than that, everybody else should use a lawyer. Now, if you like the tales, check out the consulting package. It's very inexpensive if you like the tales and really want to know the nitty-gritty. I was just going to say, there's no grains in this. It's been strained, and it's okay to just scoop it out with metal. I'm not leaving any metal in or touching grains with it or anything. And I'll show you what I do with this and why I'm putting it in this fancy cup. Here's the thing. Do use a lawyer, but be sure that you shop around. That's the main thing about doing things yourself like that, like using a lawyer. People say, do you have a lawyer to recommend? Because they're timid about shopping around. Can I tell you a little short story? There was a story of a lady. She was a retired lady on Social Security. Her check was only $600 a month, okay? And she was alone. And she didn't speak any Spanish. She just got the CUENCA. And she needed a 15-foot Ethernet cord for her computer. She was over there on the touristy street where all the foreigners stay. And she went to the computer place and asked for a price. And they quoted her $80. She thought it sounded high, so she went to a second place to get a second opinion. And they quoted her $80. So she said to herself, well, that must be the price. I checked it. I double-checked it. And she paid $80. We were at a church once, and she was there, and we were talking to one of the church people, and he told her, no, Ethernet cord's $15 or $10. I know, I get mine. They used to sell them at Coral Central for 10 cents a meter, but they no longer do that. So you can get it for 50 to 65 cents a meter now, which makes it a whopping $8 to $10 for the cord. So, moral of the story, shopping around doesn't mean going to two places. And why is it so stressful to shop around? Guys, this subject, yawn, oh, it's so boring, talking about money, oh my gosh. Gee, nobody cares about money, but the lady on Social Security, she just spent $80 on a 10, I don't know. This just doesn't seem right to me. And all of this is fermented, so this is not just pasteurized cheese like you would think. So it's all fermented. It changes the composition of it so that it makes it a completely different product than simple pasteurized cheese. Because it's fermented, it's digestible. The protein's in it, lactose is gone, casein is digestible, and therefore you get all the B vitamins from it, which are really good for your nerves that sometimes tend to flare up when you're damaged from antibiotics. I'm normally a really easygoing guy, but your nerves get really frayed from this antibiotic stuff. So, please forgive me if you see my nerves flaring up a little bit. It has nothing to do with you, it's just the conditions that we're fixing. But this is what's getting so complicated, is that it's getting so complicated that it's like there's no distinguishing when it comes to a local provider of products or services between, say, maybe a young person that's raising a family and is starting out in life. I'm talking about foreigners. Or maybe a retired person on a $600 a month Social Security check or $1,100 a month Social Security check, and a millionaire. You know, as far as they're concerned, you're foreign, you're all millionaires. You know, everybody overpays, and so that's what you get quoted. That's getting really, really hard to deal with. It's getting even harder to deal with. Yawn, yawn, talking about money. Oh, it's so boring, it's so boring. That's what the major magazines are always talking about, is money. That's all they ever talk about. Oh yeah, they talk about how wonderful the place is and how there's no crime and everything's just beautiful. Anyhow, this here, one thing leads to another. Once you get started with your kitchen duties, it doesn't just end just like that, doing one thing. There's always more stuff to do. And in this case, this is the whey. The whey is milky lemon. Tastes like milky lemon. And actually, I strain it because we use it in other things and fermenting other vegetables, but really, normally I wouldn't even strain it. I would just drink it as is. So yeah, you know, a lot of us, we want a better life. We want to come abroad because we want a better life. And what part of a better life is doing what? Getting more for your money. Hello? Getting more for your money is a better life. So how do people say, yawn, yawn, no, this is boring? In the major retirement magazines, that's the first part of their pitch. Why do I talk about this so much? It's relevant. The lady just wrote in and said, do you recommend a lawyer? And I say, yes, go ahead. I don't recommend a specific one, but do use one. But shop around. You know, when you shop around in developing countries, shopping around means keep looking. Keep looking. It doesn't mean go to 2 people or 3 people. It means keep looking. Buenos dias. And, you know, when you got language issues, that gets complicated. And that's why people always want to know, who do you recommend? There are situations when you can recommend someone, but 9 out of 10 times when things are recommended, it's just people waiting in line to pay travelers' prices, gringo prices. It's a whole different economy, and those prices, they always go higher and higher and higher. Yawn, yawn.
Isn't the whey also really powerfully good for you and nutritious?
The whey has folic acid in it. It's got some B vitamins in it, and it's milky lemon. I drink it straight. We half and half use it for fermenting vegetables, and I also drink it straight when in between kefir. Now that there is going to be my afternoon snack. It's still morning before lunch.
You'll eat all that?
Oh no. And I just put it like that in the fridge, and I do the same with the whey. Now this will keep for a couple of months, but it usually doesn't last more than a week as we go through it. I break it up into 3 sessions. 3 cheese sessions, and I'll show you how I make it into a very good little snack. I was on some local Ecuadorian forums in Spanish with all Ecuadorians, and they're talking about this subject. So, you know, it's not just me. The locals are talking about it. And the sentiment was that it's not the gringos' fault because they don't know. It's the local Ecuadorian providers, product and service providers. They're the ones taking advantage. This is what the locals are saying on the forums. And, well, there's always 2 sides to a story. I mean, it's true that the foreigners and the travelers don't know, but could they make an effort to know? Sure. Do they do that? No. So it takes 2 to tango, and I'm just calling out, like the lady that paid $80 for a 10-foot. She wasn't, you know, she's not a computer person. She doesn't know, right? But she's on Social Security, and she's on a $600 check, and she's being charged $80 for a 10-foot Ethernet cord. You know, it's an injustice. Like my landlord used to say in CUENCA, it's an injustice.
That's it for today?
See you this afternoon.
Oh, okay. Bye-bye for now.
We recently were shopping for a local service provider on something. Like I say, this is always personal experience. We're in the middle of this all the time. You know, like I said earlier, no distinction between anything. Oh, you're foreign. And there, unfortunately, as I mentioned many times, there's a lack of competition in developing countries. There aren't any other providers we can go to, and she's quoting us 4 times what she should be quoting us. And she's charging basically 90% of US prices. And this is a big beef, because you're coming to a developing country, and to have these kinds of behaviors that ratchet up prices to 90% of US prices, it's just unbearable. Anyhow, guys, thanks for listening. Don't do the immigration yourself, go to a lawyer, but shop around. Keep looking, don't quit. Use a gringo list as a gauge to get something that's half that price or a third of that price. Yawn, yawn, talking about money again. Retirement magazines. Retire abroad on your Social Security check. Gee, where we heard that? Okay, well, having a nice day. It's a crisp 79 degrees. Thanks for listening. What are we going to have for breakfast today? Let's have some cheese. Cheese for breakfast. That's a new one. Mm-hmm.